welcome to Supergirl Sews. My name's Sarah. Thanks for joining me today. I am sorry to say this because I say this every time, but I feel like it's been absolutely ages. How are you doing? Hope everything's good. As predicted, work went absolutely mad. Didn't have time for sewing. Yeah, and here we are, a couple of weeks later. But thank you for everyone who's watched the last couple of videos. I have replied to some comments, but I'm not sure I'm finished, so I will get there, I promise. I'm very lucky because I now have loads of time off over the summer, and I'm hoping we are moving back into our house soon, hopefully. We're in the process. The builders are almost finished. We are in the process of painting bits, and I'm absolutely terrible at it. It looks like getting a neat edge would be easy. Not easy, as I'm discovering. So, yeah, sorry if you've not watched before. We've moved out of our house a year ago now for a job that was supposed to be finished at Christmas. And the whole house has basically been ripped apart and put back together. And we're well behind schedule, but we are due to move back in soon. So it won't be a completely quiet summer, but aside from moving back into our house, it's going to be like we're not going away, we're not doing anything sort of crazy. Work's very quiet for me. So I should have lots of time, hopefully, to sew and plan projects and things like that. Now, what has been happening in that interim time, apart from work? I have discovered a love for quilting. It's actually, technically, I think it's a quilting topper rather than an actual quilt. And it's been good because you're working with such small pieces that I could actually work on bits when I didn't have very much time. Yeah, so it's worked out really well at a time when I've been busy, but if I feel like I just need to sew something, yeah, it's really suited me. So I'll tell you a bit more about this project in a second, but I have 2 blocks of the quilt finished. And aside from that, so behind me, I've got my cashmere Ligon robe that I made a while ago. I've been waiting to photograph this because I wanted to photograph it in our new bathroom, which I'm hoping to do next week because the bathroom is finished. And it's so bougie and nice. The lighting's not going to be great in there because it's got no natural lighting, but I'm going to do my best. And also, one of the purposes of making this robe was because if I go to like a spa, I wanted to be able to have a robe that I felt comfy in, not like feel like I'm sort of exposing myself every 5 seconds in a teeny robe. And I've just joined a gym, like a nice gym in Guildford that is part of a hotel, so it has a spa as well. With a plan to just like get into, I used to really enjoy going to the gym, and then COVID sort of happened and I've just never got back on the treadmill, as it were. And over the summer, because as I said, I'm going to have a bit more time, I sort of want to just like get back into the flow of it. But I thought if there's the draw of a spa, a nice steam room as well, then it makes it a bit of a treat too. So yeah, so that's been going on. I've reached 2K subscribers on YouTube, which is amazing. Totally crept up on me. I've been not far off there for a little while. But yeah, I've not posted in a while, so I just thought it wouldn't be moving. And then I got a notification, so I'm really, really thrilled with that. So thank you, every person who's subscribed, anyone who watches the videos, leaves comments, interacts. I do really appreciate it. Yeah, I've missed being on YouTube, so I'm sort of excited to get going again and to fill you in on what I've been up to. So let's talk about the quilting. Now, I have never been drawn towards quilting, just hasn't appealed to me. And then I came across an account on Instagram called Fancy Lad Quilts. And now she's based in the US and she designs quilts. It's always people or characters, and they'll be designed around a theme. So I think there's a Pride and Prejudice one. They're Disney princesses, Disney villains. There are all sorts of, like, loads of different ones. The patterns for all of them are not available. So I think it's one of those things. So this one I've made was the only version I could find where she's actually released all of the different blocks. So you can buy the people individually, or you can buy the pattern for the whole quilt. And it's called the Ex-Wives quilt, and is based on the Tudors. So the 6 wives of Henry VIII and then Henry VIII. And I was really drawn to this, first of all, because I just thought it looked really nice. But also I grew up and I'm currently living, because we're with my parents while our house is being done, quite near to Hampton Court Palace. So when I was at school, we studied the Tudors endlessly because they could just take us to Hampton Court for a trip. Me and Nathan, when we were dating, we spent quite a lot of time around there. There are some really nice parks in that area and pubs and the riverside and things. Our first flat was just down the road from Hampton Court. And when we have people come to visit, like some of Nathan's family came from Trinidad recently, we take them there because it's sort of a nice place to go, a bit of history, really nice gardens. Yeah, so I just feel the Tudors are quite heavily in the background of my mind. And also I love Six the Musical, so there you go. So yeah, so I was really drawn towards this quilt, and I thought I would make it as it's going to be adorn the sofa bed in our guest bedroom for when guests come. So the trickiest thing with this as a non-quilter was working out which fabrics to use. Because it's people, you have certain colours you're going to need a lot of, so sort of skin colours, hair colours, things like that. But then each queen has a different dress, and the dress has different parts. And I just could not get my head around what I needed. And also I wanted to pick a background colour where the queens could like pop against it. So I didn't want to pick anything where then I was going to have trouble with making the design stand out. I ended up settling on, I will show you in a sec with the finished block, but I ended up settling on a value quilting cotton, an extra wide value quilting cotton from Fabrics Galore. I picked the colours to go with the colour scheme of the bedroom, which is green and pink. They have, I think they've actually sold out of this colourway, but they have lots of other colourways. And it was, I can't remember how much, but it was really reasonably priced. I got, I think, 5 meters, which is, I predict will be more than I need for the background, but I didn't want to not have enough. Yeah, so I think she recommends 4 to 5 yards. But yes, so I've got 5 meters, so I should have more than enough for when I put it all together, and maybe a bit left over to maybe make a matching cushion or something like that, who knows. And then for the other fabric, I ended up ordering from Etsy a load of fat quarters in plains of loads of different colours. And then I selected different prints from Fleurette Hours, I don't know how you say it, and another shop that I can't remember the name of, but I'll put down below, where I bought some nice William Morris prints, which I thought, I know William Morris was nowhere near a Tudor, but just some of the prints give that vibe. So yeah, and then when they all arrived, I just started grouping them together. So I laid all the plains out, and then I would sort of get the prints out and layer them on top of the ones that they went with best. And then I've used that to map out the queens. So I now know the colours that I'm going to use for each of the queens. Excuse me. So my first queen, I don't know if she'll fit on this screen, was Anne Boleyn. Now, I had this whole thing where I was like, I'm going to do them all in order. But Katherine of Aragon was quite difficult, and it was recommended that you do Anne Boleyn and then Catherine Howard are the 2 easiest ones. So those are the 2 that I've done. And I do feel, especially with Anne Boleyn, you basically cut out is lots of different squares and rectangles. And some of the ways that you have to sew pieces together is actually quite complicated. And now I've got my head around it. It's called the stitch and flip method, which with squares is really easy. With rectangles, you've got to sort of angle it correctly. So I've got my head around it now, but initially I had to take it quite slowly. I will say though, obviously I've done a lot of sewing, but I've not done any quilting before. And so I had to take it quite slow to begin with, just to really get my head around it. But I've managed to do it. And I feel like if I can do it, then anyone can do it. It's just taking that time at the beginning to get the angles right and things like that. And I will also say, this is obviously not perfect because I'm learning as I go, but I still think it looks nice. So I started off with Anne Boleyn. Here she is. I'll show you the bottom all the way here. So I'm really pleased with her. So the fabrics I've picked, so this one is a William Morris one. It's got pomegranates on. I've since discovered that pomegranates were a symbol of the Spanish royalty at the time, and obviously Catherine of Aragon was Spanish, so I probably should have used this on hers, but oh well, I didn't. I've got some other nice colours for her. And then I've got this woodland print with sort of deer and foxes. There is a link to this as well, so Henry was obviously very into hunting, and these are all animals that you'd see in the local wildlife, in the royal parks as well. You have deer in the royal parks. So that's why I picked these, basically. A really cute detail is the bee necklace. Now, in the design, they tell you to cut out a bee. It's optional, and you can sort of stitch it on. But I thought that seemed really fiddly. So instead, I drew a bee on in pencil, and I just hand stitched it on with this gold metallic thread. So I'm really pleased with how that looks. And overall, I was really chuffed with this. My first one, the background fabric, as you can see, it's green with little pink flowers on. So that will go with our colour scheme nicely. Yeah, and overall really pleased with Boleyn. There are some fiddly bits. The sleeves, so these are her little hands, and the sleeves are a bit fiddly. That has lots of different pieces in. The necklace bit as well is quite fiddly. The skirt and stuff are all okay because they're bigger pieces. But overall, I just loved stitching it. Now, this is supposed to be a long-term project because I just picked it so that I could dip in and out of it. And it's a lot of sewing and a lot of cutting and things like that. So I just wanted to give myself space to do it. But I so enjoyed sewing the first one that I went straight on to do the second queen, who I'm going to show you now, who is Catherine Howard, so Henry's 5th wife. And I finished her yesterday. So she is here. So she's in pink, which Tudors would not have worn, but whatever. And this time, again, I went for swans because in the UK, swans are the property of the royal family. And also there are woodland creatures, again, on this pink fabric as well. Again, just to reflect local wildlife. Not all of them will reflect the Tudors in that way, but I did try to pick things that I thought had a little bit. It's obviously modern prints and modern designs and modern colours, but just with like a nod if I could find something suitable. So the difference with this one, obviously her headdress is a different shape. She's got this like veil thing, this purple veil. She has this necklacey thing. And she has these big sleeves here rather than like a fur. So again, I just love putting it together. And then last night I already started getting the colours because now I think I could probably go in order. So I'm going back to Catherine of Aragon. Henry's going to be last, as he should be. And yeah, so I'm going to go back in order. So I started putting the fabric together and then I was like, maybe I could just start cutting it out now. And I talked myself out of it because I need to do some garments, palette cleanser. I don't want to rush through because she's not released any of the other patterns yet after this quilt. And I think I'll be quite sad when it's done. I'm finding it very satisfying. So I'm just thinking, just do some garment sewing in between and then I'll come back to do Catherine of Aragon next. Talk to me next week. I'll probably have started, but I'm trying to just pace myself. So that has been really a pleasure over the past few weeks. And I can't wait to see it come together. I spoke to the designer about how she actually puts the quilt together in the end. And she says because she makes so many, she rarely actually quilts them. But that's something I've got to decide. She told me how she would do it. But it's just about the design. Like I love how they look. I don't want to be stitching sort of across them. So I'm just thinking about how I could quilt it. So there's part of me, tell me if this seems crazy. A lot of you gave me really helpful advice with quilting, so you might know. If I have a plain fabric on the back, what I'm thinking is that I could do some sort of normal crisscross or whatever over the background, so stopping whenever I get to a person. And then for the actual queens, I could just stitch around them for the quilting, so that if you looked on the back of the quilt, you would sort of see the outline of each queen. But I wouldn't be quilting through them. Does that seem insane? Will that not work? I don't know. I've never made a quilt before and you will seem much more knowledgeable than me. So please let me know. I will pop pictures of both of the finished blocks here so that you can sort of see them without me trying to stretch them out on the screen. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So that has been, I need to really say thank you to everyone who gave me advice on what I should buy and what I should be careful of. I bought the special foot for my machine. I bought a quilting ruler, got my cutting mat out and my rotary cutter, and they have all made a really big difference. So that saved me from having to make those discoveries through failure myself. So I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on. I have a few plans for garments, but yeah, I've gone off the boil a bit because I've been suddenly obsessed with this quilt. So what can you do? Now, I've had a couple of fabrics delivered that I wanted to show you. The first one is part of the Minerva brand ambassador program, and it is actually they've recently released so they have their own exclusive fabric range that's been around for a while, and they're constantly adding new base cloths, and the latest one is sort of an athleisure sportswear activewear stretch fabric. I think you could probably use it for swim as well. I know a lot of them you can use for either, but double check that before you buy anything. And they have very kindly sent me this one, which I love the colours. So it's got this lovely blue and then an almost, I don't think it's actually neon, but it gives that vibe, orange. And my plan with this is to make some sports leggings and a top. So the pattern that I would like to use for this is the So Liberated limestone leggings and top. I browsed a few different options, and the leggings, they had some nice examples on like bigger bodies, and the design looked good. It has pockets. And the top, I was initially just looking for a leggings pattern, but it came with the top patterns. The top's like a crop top, which I would not wear in the gym, to be honest. I might wear under a t-shirt. But I thought I could probably elongate it easily enough as well. So my plan is to make a cute little matching leopard set for the gym. Now this is nice and stretchy. Obviously it's 4-way stretch. It's super slippery, sliding around all over the place. But it feels quite like thick. So I don't think I'm going to be too worried about, you know, with some leggings for the gym and stuff, they can look thinner over like over your bum or wherever, or like when you're doing certain movements, they can sort of go a bit see-through in the areas where you're stretching, so if you're squatting or whatever, whereas this feels like good quality, so I think it should be absolutely fine, and when I'm stretching it, it's not going see-through. So I'm hoping that that's going to make a really nice little set. Now I've not sewn athleisure before, well, not the special sports fabric. As I mentioned, I am looking at doing some swimwear this year. I'm really scared. I'll commit to a pattern and then I'll suddenly read lots of horrible reviews of that swimwear pattern and then I'll get too scared to try. So that is something that I need to do this summer because I want to have stuff for our honeymoon in October. But this is a similar type of fabric. So I think I'm going to work with this, see how I get on with the fabric, how the fit works out and all of that. And then that will be a good sort of segue into that area. I'm also, you'll be pleased to know, planning on getting my overlocker actually out of the box, finally, in order to make these. Summer, this is the time, so when I go back into my sewing room, when it's all been rejigged, I'm moving back into our house, I'm going to get the overlocker right out of the box. No excuses, it's coming out of the box. So I'm going to use that, and that will hopefully give me a bit of confidence with sewing swimwear as well. Sorry about that, light is going a bit crazy in here. Now the other fabric is bought on a bit of a whim. It was a bargainous price, and also it goes in with the theme of other things I've been buying as per the honeymoon wardrobe that I've gone on about endlessly. But I also saw someone for So Recreate the Look use this fabric to make a dress that was inspired by a Dolce & Gabbana dress, and I just thought it looked great, and I thought the fabric kind of reasonable. I want to recreate a Dolce & Gabbana dress for myself for my honeymoon too. So I just went for it. Now, I can't remember who it was who made that. So I'll try and work out who it is and I'll put a link to their Instagram below if I can find them again. I feel like it must be someone I follow, but I can't remember who. So leave it with me. Anyway, the dress that they were copying was, it had these big bow tie straps, like quite a fitted bodice and then like a fuller skirt. And the fabric is another lovely Majolica fabric. So this is from Emporia. So Emporia, they have sort of the pattern wing where they make like the Penelope dress and some of their other patterns. And then they have the fabric wing. And it's a lovely cotton. It's really crisp. It's got this beautiful bright print on it. As I said, it was very reasonably priced. And I just sort of thought, you know what, treat yourself. So I did. I need to stop buying fabrics for my honeymoon and actually sew something for my honeymoon. But it seems far away, but I've got so much to make that it's not going to be far away. I want to sort of make things so that I've got a bit of flexibility in terms of sizing. I'm not actively planning on, like, I'm not on a sort of lose weight for my honeymoon, just like I wasn't for the wedding. But I am aware I'm planning on going back into the gym. I'm trying to eat a bit more healthily just because I got into such bad habits during COVID. I don't know if anyone else was like this, but I just, like, anyway, it's a long story. It doesn't really matter. But I find with the way that I work, I get ill all the time. My immunity is really, really low. And I enjoy having this really hectic work life during term time. but I really hate that then I spend the holidays ill. Now, for the first time, I finished term and I'm not ill. And I think that's partly because I've been being a bit more mindful about certain things. But I do want to just try and have it that I'm doing what I can for my immunity. Now, I don't know what this means. I might lose weight, I might gain weight, I don't know. But I just want to have, I don't want to really commit to loads of clothes when I'm sort of getting into this new routine, because I want to just see what happens. So I'm thinking there might be a few things I make where you basically just add elastic to the waist, so that I make them and then I can add the right size elastic nearer the time. So I might do some things like that, maybe a skirt or some culottes. I'm also quite keen, I want to make some Carolyn pyjamas. And I thought pyjamas, it's quite nice, they're quite loose anyway. So I thought I might make some of those, and then again, I can just put the right length of elastic in the waist for the shorts when we get nearer the time. It's not that far away, but it's just one of those things, you don't want to make clothes and then not be able to wear it or to enjoy wearing it. So yeah, I just want to work out how I can make things where there's a bit of flexibility depending on what happens. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. So loads of fabric, more fabric than I could possibly sew in the time that I've got, which is just standard really, isn't it? But I'm hoping over the summer to have many more updates for you. As I said, I've got loads more time. I have a few plans for garments to make over the next week. I don't know if I'll get all of them done, but I'm hoping that I'll have some things to show you next week as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've rambled on. If you've missed the rambling, it's back. It's back, baby, and bigger than ever. So, yeah, I am sorry for rambling, but that's what I do. Take care of yourself. Please let me know what you're working on for summer. Are you sewing anything special? Have you sewn athleisure? Do you know how I'm going to turn my quilt topper into a quilt? Any tips you have, much appreciated. And I will see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. See you later. Bye.